Welcome back to Hoops Lounge with a show with better hair than Elfrid Payton. My name is Marc Griffin, aka Montreal Marc. I'm joined by my partner in crime, Phil Boileau, Sporting Phil. If you don't know who Elfrid Payton is and the Orlando Magic, you're going to learn a little bit today. We're going to be talking about the firing of head coach Jacques Vaughn and how the team is going to go into the future. Phil, Jacques Vaughn has not exactly had the best tenure the last couple of years in Orlando. Why was he fired?
Quite simply, at 15 and 37 for a team that has this many young players who aren't developing to the level that I think was expected. I think it's just been a long time coming, and they realize that the future is now. Like, this is this young team with young draftees, Aaron Gordon, like you mentioned, Elfrid Payton, Nikola Vucevic, and we can go on and on. Some great young talent, and I think Jacques Vaughn proved or didn't prove that he was not able to, get this team going when it really needed to. And because of that, I don't think they saw him as a long-term future. But there are many choices out there, and I think this is an exciting time if you're an Orlando Magic fan, given the possibilities of coaching and the current roster going forward.
Yeah, I mean, a telltale sign is that he has the second worst winning percentage of any coach in NBA history who's coached 200 games. So, I think we knew this was going downhill fast. It's been in the media for over a week now publicly that it looked like he was going to be fired. And they also fired most of his coaching staff, which seems to believe they're going to bring in someone else who's going to bring in his own staff. Right now we have the former video coordinator, James Borrego, as the interim coach. And they're doing this around the All-Star break, so I think they give them time, a buffer zone to find a head coach. And I'll throw a couple names out there that are kind of in the mix right now. Skiles, who actually played for Orlando back in the day. Karl, who's a favorite of mine from his coaching days with the Sonics and also with Denver. Apparently he'd be willing to take the job. Another name that doesn't get discussed enough, Patrick Ewing, who's wanted to be a head coach in the NBA for a long time. And another name that I really think should be considered heavily because he did such a great job with the team and got thrown under the fire, thrown under the bus, really, was Mike Malone with Sacramento. He got thrown out this year, and they've fallen apart since he left that squad. Phil, who do you think is going to take over in Orlando?
Well, I think you bring up a couple of great names. I think Mike Malone is the feel-good story because you kind of want him to land back on his feet. But I think with a team that's this young, I don't think I would take a chance on another rookie coach. As much as I like Patrick Ewing as a human being, I don't think I would give him the shot. I think Skiles, considering they need a bit of emphasis on defense, and him being a former point guard and having played for the Orlando Magic, having a backcourt of Elfrid Payton and Victor Oladipo, those defensive monsters, I think he could do some wonders there. I think George Karl, because of his veteran presence, would be very interesting. But if I had to put my money on it, I would say Skiles, just because he has ties to the organization. He's a no-nonsense guy, and I think his strategy and the way he plays really goes well with this roster, having guys like Mo Harkless, those two guys I just mentioned, and Aaron Gordon. Those are four highly capable defensive players. So I think a guy like Skiles would be licking his chops the opportunity to coach this young squad.
Yeah, I mean, they have one of the best young cores in the league, and really no one knows about them. They get no national TV exposure. I really want to mention Elfrid Payton, beyond the hair, and he just won Eastern Conference Rookie of the Month. The last 10 games, he's averaged 11 points, 7.6 assists, and 3.5 boards. What do you think of his game? Do you think this is something he's capable of growing every night?
Oh, well, you don't have to go much farther to see a bigger Elfrid Payton fan than myself. Ever since the draft, I thought he should have gone much higher. I was shocked that the Sacramento Kings didn't take him instead of Nick Stauskas. I understand the talent there, but they needed a point guard. I think Elfrid Payton is just fantastic. He has the size, he has the length. Yeah, at 6'4", he puts defense first. He's a natural passing point guard. He's kind of like a bigger Rajon Rondo with a tad bit better of a jump shot. It's not amazing just yet, but I think he'll work on that. And let's not forget, point guard and center are two of the hardest positions to get going right out of the gate, considering the ball's in your hand all the time. But He has been inserted to the starting lineup, even though he was put to the bench a little bit in the starting this season. I think he has a bright, bright, bright future, and on all the guys, I even hold him in higher regard than Victor Oladipo, and a lot of people are pretty high on Oladipo, so that should show, at very least, that I think he's a starter for the future.
One name I want to throw out there, and he's been buried on their bench for quite a while, is Canadian Andrew Nicholson, who I saw last summer playing on the FIBA team for Team Canada, and he's a really talented guy, a really pesky offensive rebounder, shot taker. He does block shots as well. He is a very determined guy who, for some reason, did not fall in well with Jacques Vaughn. I just really think this is a situation where Jacques just was not a great fit for the franchise, and I think it's kind of been brewing for a long time. It's no surprise to any of us here, and I think there are a lot of coaches out there who'd be just licking at the bits to take over the squad. As we mentioned, it's going to be a really interesting turnover, and I think these guys are on the up and up. Phil, we're about midway point of the season. One last question before we wrap up. They're 7.5 games out from the 8th spot in the Eastern Conference. Do you think they can make the playoffs?
I think Detroit has a bit better chance. If you started the season over right now, I would say yes. But I think they're in a bit of a hole, and when you look at the standings right now in the Eastern Conference, I think they would have to, Atlanta, Toronto, Cleveland, Washington, Chicago, probably Miami is going to stay, so it's Milwaukee and Charlotte. So really, I think Charlotte can drop, but I think Detroit's right up there. I think it's going to be too tough. I think between Brooklyn, Detroit, Charlotte, I think there's enough teams that it's going to keep them out just this year, but I think next year we're going to see some changes. Although I'd love to be wrong, because I love cheering for this young squad. It's one of my favorite teams in the whole league.
Okay, so they're likely going to end up with another lottery pick, so another guy to add to their young core. Phil, so coming up this week, we got a really big week at Hoops Lounge. We're going to be heading down to Toronto. We're going to be making a couple of guest appearances. Likely you'll see us on NBA TV, on NBA TV Canada, on the Hangout. Likely stopping by Open Gym, and I think you're going to be on Below the Hardwood as well.
Yeah, exactly. We're just we're gonna hit everything all at once. So we're gonna go see what Toronto has to offer, go see the sights and sounds, and go talk basketball with a lot of intelligent basketball people out there. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. We'll send you tons of sound bites, videos, and pictures. And also, I've been working on the new SoundCloud account. So if you guys want a podcast to drive to work, at work, whatever it may be, please check out our SoundCloud account /HoopsLounge to go along with our videos and everything else. And everything else can be found at hoopslounge.com. And please remember, keep the conversation going with any of us via social media. Love to have it going. And we'll catch you guys next time in the lounge.
See ya.